Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, am I being emotional and crazy? I've got an email here from a woman. She's very successful. She makes about 4 times what her boyfriend slash fiance makes, but she's now just asked him to move out because after 4 years, he still has not married her yet, even though she told him in the very beginning, I'm only interested in dating you if you're looking to eventually get married. And he said he was. This is like the second or third time she's broken up with him, but she's still pretty peeved because she's not married yet. And so she writes in and says, am I being crazy or emotional? So we're going to talk about obviously marriage and how things have changed, because other than the fact that she's not married, they seem to have a pretty great relationship. So I got a quote that I wrote, and then we're going to go through her email. And the quote says, marriage is not required to have a great relationship. Most people nowadays are putting off getting married and starting a family until much later in life. With women's liberation and women entering the workforce over the past century, women often are focused on their own careers and don't need a man to provide for them anymore. Both genders are more independent and self-reliant, as this has completely changed and upended the traditional relationship between men and women. The purpose of all relationships is that you go there to give, meet each other's needs, help each other grow, and become more. If you are considering getting married or think you want to get married, you should consider what outcome would be achieved by making it a binding legal marriage contract. Is it really your idea to get married, or are you simply trying to conform to what society, your family, friends, or religious tradition says you should be? Whatever you decide, it should be a personal truth that both you and your partner believe in, not what others or society have scripted for you. Definitely guilty of doing what other people think I should be doing, especially when I was younger. Let's go to her email. She says, hey Corey, I love your channel and I've been watching religiously this past week. I would love to see your video response. Good news, you're in luck. I've just recently broken up with my fiance as of last week, and I asked him to move out. She says, culture, he's Arab, he's a U.S. citizen for 10 years, and I'm American born. We've been dating for 3 years, and we've been engaged a year, and it's the first engagement for both of us. They're both 34, and she says she has a 10-year-old from a previous relationship, and he has no kids so far. When I began dating him 4 years ago, I was frank that I was only interested in dating men that were marriage-minded, and he said that he was. He's an amazing guy, romantic and generous. We were best friends, and we were always so open with each other. He was persistent in pursuing me, constant courtship and dates, and even still holds the doors open. He is a responsible, hardworking man, and he spoils me, and I am still in love with him. We have a great sex life. What's the problem? I'm also a very independent, attractive woman with a great job, and I make about 4 times his salary, which did not bother me. I take care of my child, and we had a great first 2 years. We traveled together. I plan the trips, and he pays. And we got to know each other extremely well. Again, what is the problem? So far, so good. Sounds like an awesome dude. You sound like a lucky gal to be dating such an awesome dude. I discussed with him in August of 2015 while on vacation about our future as a couple, and I asked him if he saw a marriage in our future. Now, what guy is not going to say, of course, sure? He said yes, and talked about how wonderful it would be to live together, as he never lived with a woman before. He had roommates, and I only ever cohabitated with my child's father, which was almost 8 years ago. I told him then that I did not want to go into 2016 just being his girlfriend anymore, and then I dropped it. We had other events, trips. He treated me to a trip on my birthday, which was in November, and he surprised me with amazing gifts and I didn't even ask for. Sounds like a fucking awesome guy. December 2015, our relationship was great. I explained that I did not want to give an ultimatum, but that we needed to take a break so he could decide what he really wants. So he could decide what he really wants. He seemed to be pretty happy. It's not really about what he really wants. I think it's really about what you really want. He stalked me for 2 weeks with flowers and gifts until January of 2016. He told me he would talk to his parents overseas to ask for their blessing to marry me. He did not have a ring and did not propose at the time, but reassured me that he did not want to break up. Now, I coach a lot of guys from the Middle East that come, Middle East, especially India as well, India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the families, especially the parents, are very involved in those dating decisions and marriage decisions. Especially like India, because what you see is the society going from a patriarchal type society where pretty much most marriages are arranged by the parents and the families. And so when you have it's just people don't date. It's like the families get together. If they like each other, they introduce their kids. The kids get together and they hang out a little bit, kind of supervised with chaperones there. And if everybody likes each other, great, let's have a wedding. There's no dating. There's no courtship. And now when you have a society where everybody's like that, it's like they're having to date and meet women and jobs and in public and approach women, ask them out, go out on dates. I mean, it's like the society just is slowly having to learn these things. I love coaching guys from the Middle East and India, places like that. It's really cool to be able to help them. Because when you teach them this stuff, then they can help their friends and family around them. And when you look back over 100 years ago, we kind of had similar situation in the States. The parents were always very involved in the courtship and the marriage process. But today, women's liberation, completely different. I explained to him how shitty it was that I communicated from the beginning of our relationship in 2013 and even in August 2015 that no marriage was a deal breaker for me. Well, the question is, why do you want to get married? You make 4 times what this guy makes. I mean, if you end up getting divorced and it doesn't work out, you're more than likely you're going to be paying him alimony or child support if you have kids together. Everything sounds great, so it's like, just because you want to get married? Where did the idea for marriage come from? Is it because you really want to do it? Or is it because you think it's what your family wants or society wants? I mean, it really can't be for security because you make 4 times what he makes. So I'm just asking these questions because I want you to think, why do you want to get married? Why? What difference is a legal contract going to make? I can understand a woman who maybe gives up her career to have kids, or she doesn't work. It makes sense for someone like that to get married because if it doesn't work out, she can get alimony, child support, those kinds of things. I know, like in the state of Florida, it's basically what you come into a marriage with is basically what you leave a marriage with, and everything you earn together while you're married, that's what gets split. And I know there are other states, as soon as you get married, your spouse, in essence, gets half of everything you own and came into the relationship with, which I don't really think that's fair, but it is what it is. So you always got to know your downside risk. What benefit, what outcome are you going to achieve by getting married in the first place? It was unfair and inconsiderate that he did not talk to his family until I broke up with him. Well, obviously he did talk to them about it. If he didn't give a fuck, he wouldn't have talked to his parents. So obviously this guy really cares for you deeply. Needless to say, we are still not married, and I have a beautiful engagement ring given to me after one of the many breakups last year. 6 months later, he is now living with me, my idea. Well, he did say it'd be nice to live with somebody and see what it's like. What's the fucking rush? Sounds like everything's great. It's not like you're not getting along. It's just you're not married to him yet. What are you going to get from a marriage that you don't already have right now? Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? He still has a lease with his roommates in his name, and I recently found out, and he gets all of his mail there. Well, it's not good that if he was hiding that from you. But sounds like he was doing it to make you happy. Have you asked the guy what he actually wants? I know it's kind of an unusual thing, but what about him? What does he want? Maybe he's not moving at the same pace. Maybe he's taking his time. Maybe his parents are giving him a lot of shit because you're an American and he's an Arab, and they might prefer that he marries an Arab girl. So they might not be happy about that. I've had plenty of clients over the years that are in that situation. I love him, but I don't feel together. I feel as if he has stolen the joy and excitement of the engagement, hence ruining the desire of marriage, and he has not mentioned or made plans for a wedding. Obviously, he ain't ready. If you keep asking him about it, he ain't ready to do it. You should ask him, what do you want? Why, if you don't want to get married, why don't you want to get married? And if you do married, what are the conditions that have to happen before you want to put a ring on that finger, or she's already put the ring on the finger, but actually walk down the aisle or go to the courthouse steps? He's very wishy-washy, and I feel like his mother. He's not proactive and literally does things when I say I'm done and break up with him. Well, the strongest negotiating position is being able to walk away and mean it. And it's really if you're negotiating with him to try to get him to give you what you want. Each time he gets a little closer, but quite frankly, if you look at statistical studies, when they've done studies on relationships, when one or both people in a relationship are constantly threatening the other, with the end of the relationship, if they don't get what they want, those relationships, 99% of the time, they don't work out. Should I work things out or stay broken up? Well, it's not my job to make your decision. It's just to help. It's just to give you information, tools, and skills so you can make up your own damn mind. I teach self-reliance. I don't want you to be reliant on me. I want you to be reliant on yourself. Again, I say, what's the outcome you're going to achieve by getting married? What do you perceive is missing from your relationship that a marriage could give you that you don't have right now? So you can say, this is my husband. I'm his wife. My fiance. I do not want to be with someone that I have to beg for a proposal or marriage. I mean, who proposes without a wedding date in mind? Actually, lots of people do. My dad just finally got married a few months ago, and they've been engaged for a couple of years. Now, my dad's wife, my stepmom, was awesome, and he loves her more than anybody I've ever seen her with, and it's really cool at this point in his life to see him in the best relationship that I've ever seen him in. They really care for one another, and it's really cool to see that. I'm really happy for my dad, because those who've been following me for a while and read my book, you know, fucked up things used to be in his life. So it's like they got engaged, but it's like she wasn't in a rush to get married. He wasn't in a rush. But it's like when he was talking to his accountant last year, he says, you know, if you guys are married, you would have saved $20,000 in taxes, because my stepmom, she got fibromyalgia, so she can't work. And obviously my dad is the breadwinner in that relationship. But even despite that, she wasn't pressuring him to get married. And they lived together. They were already living together. They had everything, but she already had the ring, but they weren't married. And so when they decided to get married, they went to the courthouse, and they got married, and they're living happily ever after. I have not even formally announced my engagement. I have become resentful because well, there's two people. There's no I in team. What about what he wants? Have you asked him? Because I wanted to be married and have another child by now. I will be 35 this year, and I do not want to be 40 with a 2 or 3-year-old, especially since my child will be in or on the way to college. There's no reason why you guys can't have a kid now if that's what you both want. But again, that's something you need to ask him about as well. Does he want to have a kid? Does he want to have children with you? Do you guys both want the same things? Do you share the same goals and values? That's important to know before you just demand that he put a ring on your finger. Now, I've stopped caring, and I've told him I do not want to marry him or have kids with him. That it is too late. Come on. Come on, man. That's not nice. Am I being emotional and crazy? Well, I understand that you want what you want, and you are taking the proper negotiation tactic, but is it really improving the quality of your life? Is it really improving the quality of your relationship by demanding that he marry you right now? I mean, again, if you get married and it doesn't work out, you're probably going to be paying him because you make more. You got to think about that downside risk as well. I'm tired, and you've only been living together for about 6 months or so. It's like, what's the fucking rush? If you want to have a child and he wants to have a child, what's the problem? Sounds like you've done pretty good on your own raising your kid without your ex who was involved, obviously, or ex that you had the child with. What's the big deal? I'm tired of planning and pushing for everything. Well, remember, women tend to take little things and blow them up to these big things. And it's not everything, it's just one thing. It's just a legal contract. That's the only thing that's missing. You know, maybe you do a ceremony, maybe you do, I don't know. But just like my dad and my stepmom, they went to the courthouse. They did their little ceremony there in the steps. It was just the two of them. Obviously, her kids were a little upset because they wanted to plan the wedding and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I told my dad and I told my stepmom, I was like, what do you guys want to do? And they're like, well, I'm just happy getting married. It's like, if you guys want to get married, go get fucking married. If your kids don't like it, tell them they can kiss your fucking ass. I mean, her kids are all adults now anyways. Kids were supposed to plan the wedding and they just never got around to it, blah, blah, blah. So they wanted to get married, so they went and finally did it. And good for them. It's what they wanted to do. That's the important. Marriage between the two of them, not them and their children, even though we're all kind of involved, but not really. I feel that he is reactive versus proactive. Well, if you look at the older movies from 30, 40, 50 years ago, he's acting pretty consistently how most guys were. They got drugged kicking and screaming to the altar. But again, what's the outcome? What are you going to get out of it? How is your relationship going to change or be better if you're married? And I can understand if you weren't working and he was the one making 4 times what you're making. That's understandable. But why? Why do you want this? Why is this so important to you? And have you explained to him why it's so important? Do you even know why it's so important to you? And I do not want to be with someone that did not respect me enough to plan anything. In big bold letters, she puts it. Well, again, what about what he wants? Have you asked him? Does he want kids? I mean, if you really want another kid, are you sure that you want another kid? I mean, if he doesn't want to have children and you want to have another child, and that's really important to you, then there's no reason to stay with them because you're not going to achieve your outcome together. He's a great person, but I feel shafted. I can understand that you're not getting what you want, but again, you really got to analyze why do you want what you want? Again, you should get married for the right reasons because you want to get married and he wants to get married and you want to merge everything together. Your bank accounts, your careers, being parents, the house, everything. So I would say the first step with you would be to talk to him and find out what he really wants, because nowhere in your email do I see anything where you mention him and what he wants. Besides, other than the fact that you're not married, everything else sounds spectacular. There's probably a lot of women watching this going, I don't see what she's fucking bitching about. I think you got things are pretty good. But again, it sounds like the two of you really need to sit down and talk. The whole purpose of all relationships is you go there to give. You're there to meet each other's needs. It sounds like you're focused on getting your needs met, but you haven't. All I have to go on is the email you sent me. I don't see anything in here about what the dude wants. So talk to your dude. See what he wants. See if your goals and your values are aligned. And if your goals and your values are aligned, then what's the problem? If he wants to have a kid and you want to have a kid and he's ready to have a kid and you're ready to have a kid, why not just have a kid? Why does a marriage need to be part of it? You have a great relationship. I mean, lots of people live together and they have a great relationship, and then when they get married, they get divorced in a year or two. I don't see how, again, I don't see how other, if you were really religious, I can understand, but he's Arab, you're American. I don't see anything about religious traditions. He asked his parents, maybe his parents don't approve of your relationship. Have you ever bothered to sit down and ask him that? What his parents think of you? Have you even met his parents? Do you want to be a part of that family? Does he want to be a part of your family? These things you need to know. And if you question and you realize that there's really no how, in other words, getting married is not really going to change your relationship. It's not going to, what's the big deal? Definitely something to think about. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a phone, Skype, audio coaching session. You can do that by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions, and I will talk to you soon.